not even for the purposes of exaggeration, but there were like 250 more people out there. I don't believe it. Are you okay? Lined up early. You knew this was, you know video game music is awesome. If you are hyped to actually be in the room, make some noise!
I guess we'll get started, but first a little tune. Excuse me while I get this started. All right, thanks for joining us. You guys are amazing. This is such a packed crowd. I'm like really humbled by this, so thank you so much again. So my name is Kulikowski, and I love video game music. Do you guys love video game music? Yeah. So I just played a tune for you. That was from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the NES. That was the overworld theme that was composed by Hidenori Maezawa and Keizo Nakamura. You probably didn't know that, but now you know. So awesome. I played that tune because that was the first video game tune I ever heard as a kid. It was the first one I ever really retained in memory. And I'm sure all of you have that kind of tune, like whether it's the Mario Brothers theme or the Zelda theme that you just remember from your childhood. So I created this panel. It's called the Universality of Video Game Music. I created it just basically to talk about video game music. Why is it catchy? Why is it so awesome? Why do we love it? And why do we keep humming those battle themes even though we've heard them ad infinitum for the past, centuries? So I recruited these amazing people you see here who are going to introduce themselves in just a moment. We'll also share this love and passion for video game music, and they're going to help us answer why we love it so much. So after our discussion, we have a few questions we'll go over. We'll take a very brief Q&A just so that we can challenge you to a Name That Tune contest. That way you can win prizes, because everyone wants to win something, right? So basically, Name That Tune will work at...
Wait, do you want to win something? Like...
So if you guess right, you win a prize. If you guess wrong, you still win a prize. So go away with something here, because why not? We're all winners. So all right. So let's start with introductions. Amanda, you can go ahead and start.
Hello, my name is Amanda Lepre. I'm from Austin, Texas. I am the front woman of a band called Descendants of Erdrick. I'm also in a band called Those Who Fight.
I was ready to see if my slide was up next. There it is. All right, cool. Hi, my name is Alyssa Menes. I am a composer, sound designer based in the New Jersey area for video games. I love video games, I love music, so it just made sense to do video game music as a career, and that's where I am now. Hooray!
I'm Brett Elston. I have a day job I won't go into, but for the purposes of this panel, I do a VGMpire game music podcast because, like everyone else up here and like everyone else in the room, at some point went down a path where game music really spoke to me and wanted to use as much free time as I could to get the word out and connect people who also feel the same way.
Okay, my name is Shota Nakama. I'm from Video Game Orchestra. Because we've been playing every year, but we'll come back next year. And also, we still wait room for Final Fantasy 15 demo version. And I can say that.
He's also BFFs with Masashi Hamazu, the composer of Final Fantasy 13.
I love Masashi Hamazu from Saga Frontier 2. That's like, oh,
I played that.
Yeah, sweet. I'm Larry Oji. I'm the head judge at ocremix.org. So it's a community that what? Oh, it's a community of fans that take video game music from the past and present and rearrange it in all sorts of musical styles, whether that's rock, jazz, electronica, orchestral, hip hop, dubstep. Some people don't like dubstep. Whoa, 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 love it. But we take it in all sorts of styles. We've been around for 15 years, and we've got over 3,000 free remixes available at ocremix.org, and also 50 free albums. And we've done some soundtrack work. And oh yeah, right. And my pro wrestling fun fact: Nobuo Uematsu has put me in a full Nelson. So when I was adding my stuff to the slide, my wife was like, "Oh, you're doing a lot of stuff, but you need to mention that your wife is the best ever." So I was like, "Yeah." So there I am on the Twitter, and I love my wife.
So me again, I'm Patrick Kulikowski. I'm also from New Jersey, like Alyssa. I'm a contributing writer for Game Music Online, which you can hit at VGMonline.net. I've interviewed everyone from Nobuo Uematsu to Yu Miyake of Katamari fame, so definitely check that out. I also write for GameRanks.com. I'm a former associate editor at Pixelitis. Hi, Pixelitis people over there. And I'm also, according to one of my friends at Capcom, the closest thing Breath of Fire has to a president. I'm an enormous fanboy for Breath of Fire. I run my own Facebook page at facebook.com/WeDesireBreathOfFire. So check that out. Any Breath of Fire fans? Come on. I know you're awesome. And I also cover video game music on my drums. You can check me out at youtube.com/VGDrum. As you can see, I have too many favorite OSTs that I'm not going to go over here right now. And you can, of course, follow me on Twitter at PatrickCool if you want me to nerd out about video game music. So we're going to start with our first question. So what is video game music? And Brett had this awesome revelation about it, which is why this panel was formed. So go ahead.
No question. So this may be a little bit, other people may have come to this realization sooner, but for some reason it just struck me, and Patrick and I were talking like, what can we do for a panel? And I was like, well, this kind of hit me, and maybe this is a good jumping off point, but we all know like a lot of the classic music from the 80s and 90s is based on a lot of classic rock and prog rock, and we go, okay, well that's where you can play a lot of NES games and Super NES games and see that's where the DNA, the inspiration came from. But as a kid, if you would have asked me like, oh, you listen to classic rock, you like any of those bands, I'm like, oh, that's stupid, because that's what my dad listens to, and that's what's on the radio when it's old and dumb, but then I'd simultaneously hear Wicked Child, and I'm like, this is the best ever. So, over the years, it never really occurred to me until like I got older and then realized that game music wasn't just this video game music, it was just music. And what that game music was doing was slowly teaching you to appreciate music that, in a vacuum, you would dismiss. It's like, oh, I'm not into country, I'm not into hip hop, I'm not into classic rock at all. But then you can like take the exact same music, put it behind your back and be like, have you heard Battletoads? And then suddenly you're like, oh man, this is great. Same thing with like the Clock soundtrack and Tim and Jeff Fallen. I would hear that and love all of it. But then the bands that inspired them, I probably would have just said like, no thanks. But then I realized that game music is this great teacher where I think the most recent one was like Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, where they've liked the soundtrack as it's all over the place in the best possible way, where there's these harmonicas and banjos, and I'm like, you know what? I do like banjos a lot. I never go seek it out, but then I'm like, I YouTube like banjo and just like sit and listen to banjo music, but that's kind of where it all started, and everyone else can kind of take it from there. But that was where I was like, it's not just music that you hum and get into, it's like conditioning you to appreciate things you would normally just dismiss. And that's what makes game music like bigger than just like games. It is like all music.
Yeah, I would like to add that like just listening to Nobuo Uematsu's battle themes and things like that instilled prog rock passion into me way before I knew about Rush and Dream Theater and everything like that. So, and then even more recently, I've been getting more into rap and appreciating it from chiptune artists like Supercommuter and Megaran and things like that. So, if anyone else wants to like share ways that they were inspired by music or video game music got them into genres they normally wouldn't. Alyssa, do you have some?
I think for me, like, I like video music, and I'm a guitar player and everything. So I was playing, does anyone know who Jeremy Levy at all?
Yeah.
Awesome game. So, I think I picked up the guitar because of Lemmy. I was like, hey, she's a chick, she's cool, she plays guitar, I can be cool. So, yeah, so that's a big impact on video game music. And, you know, I studied classical composition in school, Montreux State University. And, you know, I think I grew up appreciating a lot of classical music, not so much from, oddly enough, like listening to like Beethoven stuff, but listening to like, you know, orchestral kind of like video game music. You know, even if like something, let's say like Final Fantasy VI wasn't orchestral because it was chiptune or whatever, but you can still hear it. So I think I got like appreciation for like classical symphonic music too for video games. And that's a lot of the music I like to write now, so yeah.
Cool. Does anyone else want to add?
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right. So in my experience, video game music is the part of the experience of playing a game. Whenever you play a game is emotional. It doesn't have to be, you know, super dramatic JRPG or anything, but those are kind of my favorite. But the music will shape your interactive soundtrack. This is like watching a movie, but you're interacting with it. You're doing it. You're engaging in battles. You're going through cutscenes. And some of these classic game composers, like Uematsu, for example, they take these motifs, like in Final Fantasy VI, you have Terra's theme, and it has the most simple melody. It's actually one of my favorite songs of all time, not just video games, but any song of all time. It's just simple and effective, and he writes that motif in 8 or 9 different ways throughout the entire soundtrack and just brings it all together as a whole for the emotional experience.
Cool. Yeah, growing up in Japan, in my time, it was impossible, of course as a guy too, it was impossible to avoid playing games. Like everybody played everything. Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, and all those great games, and we grew up playing those. So it's like, you know, video game music, without knowing, I think it became our life. It's like, you know, part of our life. And Uematsu once told me that Mario theme should be the Japan's national anthem. It's so true. Everybody knows it. Like, I don't think I can find anybody who doesn't know it.
Yeah, even if they don't play games.
I'll just say my experience getting into video game music is a little bit of the reverse because, I don't know, like long story short, so my mom is Russian and she got kicked out of communist Russia in the 70s when it was found out that she hated the Communist Party. But I guess what I'm getting at is when she came to America in the late 70s, she was into just like all American culture. She was into everything. So when it came to growing up, she was playing all sorts of different music, whether it's like, you know, crooners from the 50s or you know, modern stuff from the 80s when I was a kid. And so I kind of grew up being open to all sorts of different styles of music and not kind of just being into one thing. So even as a kid, it was never like, oh, this is music from a video game, but this is a lower, inferior grade of music than the real stuff, the mainstream stuff. I was always just like, music is music is music. This is awesome. And so like when I would tape, you know, like Donkey Kong Country's like aquatic ambience off my TV, it wasn't like, oh, this is good for a video game. It was like, this is awesome. This is so chill. So, I mean, right from the beginning, it was just that video game music is as good as any other music. It's all on the same level, and it's all, you know, different stuff to experience, just like mainstream music.
Awesome. That reminds me of a time where I recorded, recording onto like tapes and stuff like that. I remember blasting the Skyrunner theme from Earthbound into my Talk Boy and recording it.
So what you have to do is you have to hold the Talk Boy up to the speaker,
Yeah.
and then record Shadow's theme so you can hear it back later. If anybody stuck a Talk Boy microphone up to the TV speaker, raise your hand. Yeah. I'm in the right place.
So in Japan, like when cell phones came out, you could actually program the ringtone on your own, and you were able to like input like 3 notes at the same time. And I always made like Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy stuff. And was it like this here too? Like this? So Japan technology.
We're innovative back then.
I guess we'll bounce over to our next question. So we talked about what is video game music, but why do we like it so much? Anyone want to?
Oh, man.
I think we already covered all of this.
I guess I could springboard this. There's a cool GameSpot video on YouTube that I was looking at when I was trying to figure out how do you like video game music, and it went into a really scientific kind of explanation, but they also asked performer Lindsay Sterling about it, and she kind of talked about how it ties people to a culture that they feel that they can be a part of. And I know anyone who attends MagFest or in Japan you have Bit Summit, those kind of festivals that are just really unifying. Everyone shares that common bond of loving video game music. So I mean, because we're all nerds nerding out over video game music, that just kind of draws us closer together. But GameSpot kind of talked about how these video game tunes tie to emotional moments in our lives, which is like then tied to memory formation. So the whole idea that listening to music is closely associated with like strong emotional feelings, memories of the past, and music kind of activates that part of our brain called the limbic system, which is involved in that processing of emotions and controlling memory. So that's one neat way, a more scientific approach to looking at why we love video game music so much.
I think the shorthand stuff, like when I was a kid, so who in the audience is NES generation? When they were a kid, it was NES, and like, you know, okay, awesome. So like a lot of us exactly know what it's all about when it's talking about the 8-bit stuff. You know, Mario 1, 2, 3, Zelda, Mega Man, Castlevania, all that stuff. At least back in the days where you had the earlier music, at least for me, video game music, why it was so awesome and connected with me on a bigger level, it's just, it was great hooks that can bear a lot of repetition. Always. You hear like map themes, you know, stage 1 themes, you know, and I don't know, let me just ask, what is it about, like, was there some secret sauce where, for like all these classic games, the first stage was like, that's the music, that's the best one, like, what is all about that? Yeah.
Mega Man X.
Mega Man X, yeah.
These games are just so like freaking hard that like you needed the best team up front because that's the one that the players are going to be hearing like over and over and over again.
You couldn't beat the first level. Just freaking music.
That's very true. And we were talking about Nobuo Uematsu so much. He's kind of like the star player in the video game music realm. But when I interviewed him, I asked him, you know, why do you think people like video game music so much? And he was kind of going along those lines that you're in a field and you're listening to the field theme over and over, and it just kind of is more impressionable to you because you listen to it so much. So that's one way to think about it for sure. Yeah. So my next question is video game music still niche? Are we all just nerdy nerds nerding out?
This one is kind of interesting. I think it also depends on our demographic. Our age demographic is also very important. You know, people who grew up playing NES, they're now in their 30s. People who grew up playing SNES and PlayStation, you know, they're getting up there too. So
It's over, life is over.
Are we going to be in our 60s, all learning out at PAX about classic NES, SNES? But I think it has a lot to do with age demographic. But I definitely think that there's, you know, a younger audience that can appreciate, you know, chiptune NES stuff.
And then you have to think about all the events like I mentioned, Bit Summit and MagFest, and then there's Orlando Nerdfest, Distant World, Zelda Symphony, all these things that, you know, play to sold-out crowds. So is that still niche?
I know I wanted to add something to this. I work a lot with the Game Symphony Orchestra rather down at the University of Maryland, and their concerts actually attract here's some moves in there, nice. And GSO. Their concerts attract like a really diverse crowd. I played at 2 concerts and I sat in the crowd at 1, and I see like all sorts of age groups coming in, not just like, you know, like people like our age, but just like, you know, older generations, and everyone just comes in and seems to enjoy it. They just seem to have like a damn good time. What I thought was pretty funny about one of the concerts, one of my pieces was performed in there, and like my mom actually came down to see it, and she's like, wow, Lisa, I didn't know video game music was so good. Yeah, it is, really. So, you know, when I think about like groups like that and like VGO and everything, is like, it's so cool to see like this music put into like an orchestral setting and kind of, I don't know, I think, you know, taken away from the beeps and boops and like orchestrated and reimagined, I think it opens it up to a new accessible audience and people end up liking it, and it's really cool. So yeah.
Awesome. I also think it's hard nowadays to even like define niche, because after so many years of just online making everything shared, that you can have at some point when you have so many sold out concerts and something like Zelda can tour, Video Games Live can tour year round over and over and fill up and sell out, it's like, it doesn't really count as niche anymore. Like, that's too many people all aware and celebrating it. So yeah, someone who doesn't play games, who doesn't participate at all, it may seem like that's a weird thing to get into, but by the same token, like the way TV and every music and every piece of art is like so splintered, niche I think almost doesn't even exist anymore.
Right. Maybe you can speak, Shota, maybe you can speak more to how it is perceived in Japan.
Well, Japan, I don't live there. So.
I mean, there's so many soundtracks.
At least I can tell from my point of view, I guess. So I started VGO, Video Game Orchestra, about 5 years ago. And when we started, our audience, well, they were basically like younger kids who grew up playing games. But gradually it just changed over the years, and now we have like, you know, really old people and really young people, and everybody comes to our show and they enjoy the show. So I don't think, yeah, it's like you said, like I don't think it's anymore. And Japan also, I think video game concerts are like pretty hip now. There are a lot of like amateur groups playing concerts all the time, and the Zelda Symphony just did a show for Majora's Mask release, and they sold like 5,000 seats. It's insane. And if you go to Mexico, like Zelda Symphony, Distant Worlds, when they go to Mexico, they sell out 10,000 seats. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I believe MagFest had like a record-breaking 17,000.
17,000
this past year.
Yeah, and also we went to Taiwan last October and we sold 3,000 seats.
Yeah, they're awesome. Yeah. You mentioned Video Games Live, and like they've done some massive shows in Brazil as well.
Yeah.
Like video game music is gigantic in Brazil. I would just say like, you know, one of the goals of OC Remix is to try and, you know, help kind of bolster the perception of video game music as being as legitimate as any other music. You know, there are a lot of awesome things going on, like, you know, like Video Games Live, like MagFest, concerts. You know, there are a lot of cool people like all of us who respect video game music and think it's badass. The thing is, you know, I think I saw on Twitter a couple of days ago, anybody a fan of Grant Kirkhope, like GoldenEye, Banjo-Kazooie? Yeah, it's like, he's awesome, but I remember him saying, and this is, I guess right after the Grammys, when like this year there wasn't a video game soundtrack nominated, you know what I mean? Like, we can't get too, not to turn into like, we're warriors for video game music, but like, it's such a badass, you know, overall field of music, but every time you get steps that kind of take it to the next level, you can't just assume like, oh, we're already there, we got Grammy nominations, it's, you know, we're mainstream now. It still is niche, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, everybody has, you know, a lot of people have cable. There's like 500 you know, channels now. Like, catering to niches is cool. Like, there's an audience for all that sort of thing. But like, I think as people like us, as we get older and we're kind of more in control of, you know, what people kind of see and hear in the mainstream, you know, there's going to be less people that are just like, what is this stuff? Like, this is lame. Like, where's the film music? Where's the TV music? You know, I think whenever we see a day where, you know, video game soundtracks are heard on like mainstream radio, or, you know, an album outside of like Final Fantasy sells like 1 million copies, or, you know, 250,000 copies, then we're going to be talking about it not being in the niche. But I mean, being in the niche is not a bad thing, though. I think we're still all awesome here. So.
Amen. So next question, and I apologize for the use of the word blind here, because I kind of hate that. But does our nostalgia for video game music blind us? And by that I mean, like, is there something about like the instrumentation of classic game music, whether it's like chiptune or that obnoxious SNES trumpet or the Seinfeld slap bass samples and organ bits that Nami likes to use? Is there something about that we're willing to overlook just because we have so much nostalgia tied to that?
I think it definitely helps if you were around for that era. It certainly makes it easier to go, oh, hey, listen to this. You already kind of know what's up. But again, doing a podcast and running into people at PAX and Comic-Con, like, I don't even know how many people were like, oh, I never really listened to game music, but I listened to this show because I heard about it somewhere else, and then all the songs are really cool. So I've run into, I couldn't even count how many, who had no nostalgia, had no, like, I never played that game, I didn't even have an NES growing up, but were still like, oh, that sounds great. And I think part of it comes from so many bands coming out now that make, well, chiptune bands or even bands that are inspired by game music. It's normalizing that sound, so when they hear it, it doesn't sound like this archaic old thing. It's more of its own medium or style.
I like to think of it as, if you think about music, you buy albums. Each album is produced and engineered a certain way to sound a certain way. So you appreciate the album for the overall sound. I feel that way about video game soundtracks. Take the Dragon Quest series. I love the Dragon Quest series. I named my band after the Dragon Quest series. We have the very first game, Dragon Warrior. Basically 2 sound channels. This is the sound. So you appreciate what was written within those limitations. And whether or not the nostalgia blinds us, that's difficult because it's like appreciating an album of work. So it's hard to say. It just, you play Final Fantasy Mystic Quest that has a certain texture to the sound. It's different from another Super Nintendo game. So you just appreciate what's within that game.
If we were to play those like samples to people who don't normally do video game music, though.
Oh no, they sound hilarious. What about the Final Fantasy VI opera scene? Those vocal parts? You play that to somebody who has never heard that before, they're like, what are you listening to? I was like, that's beautiful. I swear, it's beautiful. It's breathtaking.
So no one once told me that he had no idea about opera. And after the game was released, the coach, the other composer of Dragon Quest, he called him up and he was like, why didn't you fucking tell me? He was like, I'm giving you a lecture.
No, okay. This
is a hard question.
It's a hard, yeah. This is a very difficult question. Like, I guess in some way it does, but I mean, is that so wrong? Is that so wrong? You just like the classic sound of video game music, like?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like people liking AC/DC and stuff too. Like, there's definitely a nostalgia factor, but like my players, some players never played games, but now they love it. They want more. So good music is good music, and video game music is good.
Yeah, and we make fun of stuff like the opera, and we make fun of that. But honestly, like, look, for people that, I mean, there are a lot of mainstream artists that grab, steal those sounds and use it like Timbaland or I don't know, Kanye or who's that female artist with the Don't Stop Making Fun? Kesha, God, okay, sorry, I don't remember no more, right? But there are people using it, right? And a lot of people enjoy those songs even though they've never touched a video game in their life. So I mean, those sounds are cool and have always been cool. I don't think enjoying it makes us sort of blind to the deficit or the lack of fidelity in that music. I think it's always sounded great. It's really catchy stuff.
So there's a lot of chiptune artists too who may not have grown up with that NES sound, and here they are rocking out with their own original chiptunes.
So what I think was best about those NES sounds, just the melodies are just so damn good. They had to be. You had 4 channels. Someone like Hitanaka could just bust out great melody and make great use of the sound chips and everything. Yeah. So you know what? I don't know. I think it sounds awesome. I love those sounds. So yeah.
I think part of it's also the packaging of it, because going back to the first point about it being all music, where I listen to a ton of Phantasy Star, and I'll listen to Phantasy Star 2 a lot. You can take this song note for note, put lyrics over, put it on a radio, and be like, oh, it's great, it's a top 40 hit right now. And all it is, well, here's a cartridge, please listen to this music. No, that's dumb. And it's just the packaging. It's a lot of people who will be like, no, that's a game, and that's kind of a blindness that we're able to immediately forgive, because we're like, oh, game music, all right, I'm not immediately opposed to that. But again, that mainstream audience, I can get why video game immediately checks this box, we're like, inferior, and you kind of have to get over that hump, but
we're talking more kind of, we've been focusing more about like NES and 16-bit and stuff like that, but what about modern video game music, now that, you know, you can have kind of full fidelity and live instruments, all that kind of stuff? Like, what about the question of blinding us with modern stuff?
I noticed a lot of Hans Zimmer influence with recent soundtracks. Lots of, especially like Call of Duty, that sort of thing.
Well, but you know, also for the film music, it took them time to get the respect that they have currently. And video game music has come this far in such a short period of time, so it's just a matter of time.
That's a great point. Like, I think back in the day, like
I guess the 40s or whatever, they used to have like pops orchestras. I think they still do, but like they would just play film music, and that would be like the niche thing. Now it's like video games is like the niche music. And I guess like the orchestras back then would play film music to try to get like, you know, a more diverse crowd into their concerts, and that was like they're like, you know, these aren't the classics, these aren't the respected works, but they're just like our cute little like casual thing, I guess. So that's a good point.
Any final points before we move on?
I just had an interesting point to make about like this. I remember back in my composers forum in college, where we would just show off like pieces to each other. It used to be kind of like a backhanded insult to say, "Oh, that sounds like video gamey." You know, you would show off like a piece of music, and if it had like some kind of like melody, and like someone else in the class would be like, "Oh, that sounds video gamey," and they were like meaning to like insult your word and be like, "Yeah, that's shit." But you know, video music rocks.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
So I wanted to move into the importance of recognizing video game music composers. What are ways you guys think the VGM community is like recognizing composers and putting faces to the music?
Oh, damn.
By saying that I am guilty of not knowing a lot of names. I know Uematsu, I know a few other composers by name. Other ones, I'll hear a soundtrack and I'll recognize the style, and I won't know who composed it. So, this is totally not my question.
I think on some point it is on us and the fans to like dig in, because records of that in the 80s and even in the 90s were so either mysterious or absent that it came on us to like, well, like all the websites like VGMDB and VGMpire, like you have to do a lot of digging and actually find it, and in a lot of cases like find the human beings in real life and interview them, like, okay, I finally got you, can I please ask you about the Smartball soundtrack? And it's like, here you are, okay, here to talk about sound. I'm like, can you please answer these 40 questions I have about Smartball? And it's like, no, it's never asked me. But it's like, that's what, because it's like, who did the composer? And it's just like the letter K. Right? And there's been episodes of a podcast where I'll like, I don't know who did the music for, you know, I think Extreme G might have been one of them. It was some N64 game, and it's like, your name's not in the credits. There's nothing in the instruction manual. That person, whoever it was, maybe never.
I think it was like Simon Robertson or something like that. I don't know.
I can't remember Extreme G or not.
Also back then, like people used to use like nicknames instead.
Yeah.
Bun Bun.
Yeah.
Yasuaki Fujita did.
Yeah.
James Banana.
Kinoya Yamashita, right?
Do you guys remember there was a point-and-click NES game, because there was Deja Vu, Uninvited, and Shadowgate. I don't think anybody knows who composed those. Like, you could not find it on the internet anywhere. I looked it up. I was like, who's a composer? It's still unknown. Like,
No, we know,
some of
we
you guys
know.
can find it out,
We know.
but
We know.
oh, we know.
I don't know. Check out your remix, but it's in there. It's in the mix. We've added the composer base. Yeah, look it up, Jose. What is it?
I was gonna ask, is that
It's probably figured
It's
it out.
confirmed. Okay, it's confirmed because they did the Shadowgate like sequel
Yeah.
Kickstarter and stuff.
That's
No,
right.
the mega mystery of the times that we had for the longest time was DuckTales. It was like, who was it? Who was it? We did DuckTales for NES, but we know now.
Interestingly, though, that original Hiroshige Tanimura, I think, he wasn't credited in the DuckTales remastered soundtrack release. At least Jake was credited, but yeah, he remastered it. I want to mention that there's also these amazing documentaries that have been coming out. Two have been kickstarted, The Beat and The Player's Score. But more recently was the Digging in the Carts, which was done by Red Bull Music Academy. I was blown away by, it's amazing to see like obscure composers being represented there, like Kageyama-san, I believe. He did the Gimmick soundtrack for NES, Famicom. No one's heard of Gimmick before. And lo and behold, here's this HD documentary about him. And if you ever get the chance, these are free documentaries you can watch online. I wholeheartedly recommend it. I got like emotional watching them talk about Masashi Kageyama and how he fell out of the video game music scene. Went on to just go work back on his farm pretty much. And then he saw a video, I believe it was the band Cheap Dinosaurs, a chiptune act that usually plays at MagFest. They were covering his Gimmick music, and he saw that on YouTube, and that inspired him to pick up the sax again. And that was like recently, so I'm just amazed by the fact that our community is giving back to these composers and recognizing them finally, and inspiring them. Full circle. An amazing thing. Yeah. Any other points you guys want?
I'm just a huge nerd, man. Like, I love learning about the original composers. I mean, I think one of the coolest experiences I had at OCR, we did an interview by email with David Wise, who I'm sure some of you know, like, composed Donkey Kong Country, that series. And the question I had, because that was one of the formative, soundtracks for me, that was like, oh, this is so awesome, wow. When you play Donkey Kong Country, you pause the game, and the music still plays. So there were nights I would just, I'm in a water level, I pause it, aquatic ambience is playing, and I'm just like chilling out, imagine, and just laying back and listening because it's so relaxing. And so my question was, why did you guys do it like that? What were you thinking? Were you trying to put more of a focus on the music and kind of let people kind of just lay back and listen to it and enjoy it? And he goes, no, actually. Because he also composed Battletoads, and normally for Rare, when you pause the game, there'd be some sort of pause jingle or pause music, so like everybody knows the Battletoads, beat. And he's like, no, for Donkey Kong Country, we ran out of data, so I couldn't put a pause theme in it, so the easiest thing was just to let the music play, and I'm like, what? There was no actual thought behind it? You're blowing my mind. I'm like, so when you get to talk to these composers, it's just a super awesome experience. Like, I encourage anybody, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like, you have to know everybody's name and like their history, but just...
I'm kind of like that.
The militant pro, video game music enthusiast. But if you ever get into it and you want to know more, I really highly encourage you to look up who the original composers are and just maybe see some interviews, because it'll give you some really cool insights as to why did they create that theme that way, what kind of vibe were they going for. They may even mention the artist that inspired them for a particular soundtrack, and that might be a gateway, kind of like what Brett was talking about, into appreciating other music that you might enjoy. So, I mean, look into these people. They're all good men and women. They're awesome.
Yeah, I think it's actually important to know their names, especially if you want to work in the industry, like as a performer or composer, arranger, whatever. So we had one accident while we were recording. So at the time we were recording for Kingdom Hearts 2.5, which came out last year, and Yoko Shimomura was monitoring the whole session via Skype and Source Connect, and one of the players finished recording. He was an oboe player, and he comes out from the booth and says, oh my god, Yoko Shimomura is online, and I had to talk to her. And he's like, I'm a huge fan. So he went up to the Skype screen and talked to her. He's like, I'm a huge fan of your Final Fantasy 3. We're like,
Oh.
She didn't compose Final Fantasy.
No.
I was like everybody was just like complete silence,
Deflated.
So if you want to work in the industry, make sure you know.
That actually reminds me, Shota, if you listen to VGO's Live at Symphony Hall album, it kicks off with the theme to Street Fighter 2. And when you're riling up the crowd, you kind of go, this one's by Yoko Shimomura, this is Street Fighter 2. And I think that's one small way that video game musicians can kind of get people to connect the name to the music. Just mention, this was done by Yasuaki Fujita. Maybe they'll kind of retain that in memory. So
And for the purposes of this panel, we will mention that the composer for Shadowgate is Hiroyuki Masuno.
It's
So-
on the internet.
It's on the internet, bro. I told you we had it. We had it.
Okay, one that you'll never get. Who composed Who composed Oregon Trail 2? Nobody knows that one.
It was me, I did it.
All
I
right.
was like 7, I did it.
One of my parents had a test panel for that, like as a kid.
For Oregon Trail 2.
Like, yeah, and kids do like Oregon Trail, like bang on a keyboard.
There was music in Oregon Trail. I'm not making a joke. There was music in Oregon
The
Trail.
best one. So our final question, or topic, our hopes and dreams for game music in the future. So what do we want to see more of in video games? What do we want to see less of? I know I want to see less Hans Zimmer.
I want to see video game music getting Grammy. For sure.
That did happen though, didn't it?
Well, but like, no, it was like nomination.
The Christopher
Christopher Tin.
Yeah, but like,
Grammy
I'm talking about like a mainstream.
soundtrack.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Soundtrack.
Personally, like as a composer myself, sometimes I'll tell people what I do, like, oh, I write music for video games, and if they're like, cool, like all you people, they're like, oh yeah, it's awesome, and if they're they don't maybe know as much, they're like, oh, so you do the beeps and boops? Like, no, I write orchestral music. I record my guitar, and I play, and I do all that. So it's not just beeps and boops, and I kind of want to put that across. Like once in a while I'll have to write a chiptune thing, and that's all well and good, but I just want to kind of see more that like video game music be understood by the general public as more than just our standard beeps and boops, is that we can cover any genre in video game music. So that would be cool. We saw that.
My pie in the sky hope is to have that day where you can, like, just about any game you can think of, you can find out who composed it, and there's a legitimate way to buy it, and then you know that the money is going somewhere. Because it's capitalism, so the only thing that matters is money. So when you vote with your money, that sends a message. So I hate not being able to buy game music. I'll go to YouTube, I will listen to them there, because it's the only way to do it. Or you can get them through other means, of course. But anytime there's an option to buy it, I always buy it. Like, I don't care if I'm never going to listen to it. It's like, I want to send that message, like, this is money, take it. Somebody somewhere who checks the boxes know that people care. So hopefully, maybe it takes 10, 20 years, but where you can just go and like, I want to shop for game music, and you don't have to dig through forums and torrents and threads and, balls in my blood. Right? Get emotional. But yeah.
Series. You're seeing a lot of it on iTunes now.
Like, that's great that that's there, and then like randomly one day I was like, I bet there's no Silent Hill music, and then it was all on Amazon. And granted, it's Amazon MP3, so that's kind of whatever, but like, the point is it was there, and somebody did the work to put it there. So at the very least, like, you can send that message to Konami and be like, yeah, this is good, and I would like more. So just trying to find that way to make that path easier. And music licensing is already difficult, and then it gets even harder when it's different countries, and the composer doesn't work there anymore. And it gets difficult, but I think it's worth fighting for.
Anyone else want to add things for hopes and dreams?
Good melodies.
Less covers of Mega Man 2 Wily, more covers of Mega Man 7.
Oh. We're talking about covers of video game music or video game music itself. I'm not a composer of video game music, but I definitely cover video game music. And the most important aspect of any song, in my opinion, is the melody. So with new technology, we're not limited to 4 sound channels, but that doesn't mean quit being creative. Let's hear some good melodies.
Definitely love those dynamics in game music. Like, I want to see more of like how Banjo-Kazooie and Mario might add instruments, add layers to the music depending on what you're doing. If you're like on swimming underwater, things like that. So more layering for sure. Okay, so I mean, these are all our topics here. How much time do you have?
Like
18 minutes.
18? Okay. How about this? We want to make a very limited Q&A just so we can give you prizes and stuff like that. Are you okay with that?
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So who has... Let's do 2 questions. So who has a question for us?
come up.
Who's Who's gonna come up? There's a mic.
Yeah, there's a mic right here.
Okay.
Let's give it up for that. Anyway, so we'll take two questions here. Everyone behind those two people, though, line up because we're going to do Name That Tune. So this line's...
If you feel confident, name that tune, bro.
Okay. Introduce yourself and, yeah.
Hi, I'm Andrew, and I have a question for...
Oh, wait, that mic
Hey,
don't work.
Is that mic?
Oh, God.
Is it on?
Can someone...
Yell real loud.
I know, it's not your fault.
No.
I don't think it's on.
Talk it.
Is it on?
Larry, just ask
Check,
me.
check.
Hello?
Oh, man, not on.
Oh no.
Hello?
I don't hear a damn thing.
Alright, hold on.
Just go ahead and ask the question. I'll repeat it for you.
Okay, Brett, this is for you. On what level do you appreciate Muppets Party Cruise?
On what level does Brett appreciate Muppet what?
Muppets Party Cruise.
Party cruise. You have to understand. Just go look up the song.
One door's red.
One door's red, the other blue. It's a Muppet song from a PS2 game that has so much bass in it. Yeah, it's a long-standing joke, but it's great. It's a hokey song that's ridiculous, but it's Kermit, or is it Kermit?
Kermit, yeah.
Kermit singing about red and blue doors, but it was recorded for a game, and it's like, that's what the Muppets were doing in the year 2000 or whatever. They were in a movie, they were singing about doors.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You good?
Let's go.
That's cool. What's your question?
It's fun. Okay.
So this is a question for everybody, just general comment sort of. So going back a little bit to the niche gaming, the niche idea and whether it's still niche or not. Now we're seeing a lot of symphony orchestras popping up. We have video game specific orchestras.
Come over.
Oh.
Come on.
I want everyone here.
So now we have a lot of video game symphony orchestras popping up in professional, amateur, everything in between. And now we even start to see everyone beyond pops with last July, the London Symphony Orchestra doing Zelda music. What do you think the intersectionality between classical music and the classical music profession, I would say, from a musician's perspective rather than a composer's perspective, and video game music is at this point, and what do you think it will be?
Well, as a non-composer but a musician who covers video game music, I have two guys in my band, Descendants of Erdrick, who they're not very personally familiar with the games, soundtracks that we're playing, but they love it. They're like, this is some of the best music I've ever played. I've ever had the opportunity to play. So I know that's not really classical, but it gives a perspective from that side of it.
Cool. Thanks for that question.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're going to start. Okay, all right, one more question, and then we're going to do Name That Tune.
I was for Name That Tune.
Okay.
Yeah, you do it.
All right, yeah, of course, yeah, this one.
All right, I'm sure it's cool.
Okay. Do you guys have any tips for beginning musicians who are like trying to write their own music?
I think that's right up Alyssa.
Lots. Just here. I'm coming from a teaching background. If anyone wants to learn how to get into video game music, like what I do, just please send me an email. I love getting emails and tweets. Come grab a card and we will chat. I don't want to hijack too much time from Name That Tune. But I just say practice every day. Right.
I'll do a quick plug. Like at ocremix.org, we have a great we have a workshop forum. So if I don't know if you're coming in cold, like you have no theory, no background, no live instrument experience, you want to learn.
I can kind of play guitar a little bit.
Okay, yeah, no, I mean, so whether or not you've had any previous background or no music theory or not or whatever, I will definitely recommend OC Remix's forums because it's a good place to get started. Whatever digital audio workstation you're going to be using, like FL Studio, Reason, Cubase, whatever. If you're coming in dry and have no experience, or you've already got past experience, it's still a great place to get feedback, ask seasoned people for advice. Get really targeted, feedback on either your music directly or just asking production questions. So I would definitely recommend that you go there.
Larry,
So
should
let's
I be teaching on that? You want me to all that?
So we're going to get started with Name That Tune. The way it's going to work, you introduce yourself. Audience, please don't call out the tune. If the contestant knows it, you can raise your hand. If you don't, you can guess. If you win, you come up for some awesome prizes. We have download codes from Brave Wave, video game orchestra albums, OC remix albums, that sort of thing. If you lose, you still win. You can reach into my random magic bag of swag. I have a lot of stuff there, and I'm not leaving with it, okay? And then question mark profit. Okay. I'm going to unplug my screen so you don't see the tunes. Okay. And just introduce yourself.
Hi. No.
That's okay.
Just go
My
for it.
voice is out.
I can do it. I know this guy. He's awesome. By the way, this is Jared from the really awesome Emerson-based show Pizza Radio.
Yeah, check it out on Facebook.
Oh, what time is it on Saturdays at 8, right?
Yeah, not this. Oh,
Not this week, because Jared's here. But Saturdays at 8 p.m., Pixel Pizza is Jared's really super cool show. So, like you said, check it out on Facebook.
All right. You ready?
I've heard that one.
Larry, no, don't say it. Don't say it.
We have a. Oh, yeah, I know it.
Can't tell anyone.
I know it.
Take a wild guess. If you don't get it, you still win something.
Sonic CD.
It's not Sonic CD. It's does the person behind you, do you want to try it, or do you want to give it to an audience?
Oh, it's
Give it to the audience.
Our audience, that person back there, shout it.
Lady.
Run the fire 3, that's right. Come on. Here, Larry, give it to her. All right, next person.
Is she gonna slam it?
I think Jared does.
Jared.
Loser bag.
You get a sticker.
Aw, pity bag.
You rock.
Okay.
Nice hair. Nice ear.
Next person in line, introduce yourself.
Oh man. Oh man.
That's awesome right there. Oh, here you go, Buster's Red.
It's the B2 dream.
Go ahead, man. You can introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Reese Egner.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Reese.
Yeah,
You ready? This is Amanda's pick, so blame her.
Oh dear.
Oh, that works.
Dude, no one knows.
Oh, no, this is my jam.
God, I can hear that awful SNES trumpet.
SNES trumpet.
I love that.
Wild guess, man.
It's got to be something by Uematsu.
It's not.
Anybody. Even like a guess.
Does anyone know?
Raise your hand.
Small child, choose. Fancy Star?
She's pointing at someone over there.
What?
Oh, is it someone?
You again?
She gets it, she can give it to someone else.
No. But that is the right console, but no.
All right, it's not Lufia 2.
It is
Go Legend.
Wow.
Legend?
Nobody knows that game?
That was-
That's alright. Reach into this one,
But,
man.
I was also
low.
going to give you a download of my
It's a
band's
video
CD.
game.
Descendants of Erdrick. We just
Hey, what'd you-
released a CD called Advent.
What'd you get there?
Okay.
Whoa! All right.
Nice. Next song is my choice. And guess what is one?
And we also have someone to come out here, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
All right.
We have a special guest here. Everyone say hi to Swery. That's actually your hint for this song.
Oh, yeah,
D4, that's right.
Yeah, I can give that. Hold on, bro. All right.
So Riz here, we actually flew together from GDC and we just arrived last night to PAX East, and this is his first appearance in PAX East. And he's at the booth in Expo Hall by Access Games, that's his company.
9197 maybe.
That's a number booth.
Yeah.
So come and say hi, and he's going to give you autograph and everything, all his life.
From our booth, I'm making default PC button. Let's try out. Everybody come, please.
Yeah, he put in like Xbox One, and now he ported the PC version, and you can definitely try out there at the booth. So come and say hi.
I just wanted to play him off on tweet. Alright, what's your name?
My name's Jason.
Jason, you ready? This is Alyssa's pick.
The yellow.
That's right.
Wait, what was that?
I'm Jammer Lemmy.
Well,
reach in the swag bag, bro.
Hey, come get a high five for me because you rock.
Reach deep now. Lots of practice.
Wow, Lemmy, play Lemmy, everyone's great.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Fun night.
Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Devin.
Devin, hi. You ready?
Yeah.
This is from Larry Oji.
Oh, I picked this one.
Something easier.
My picks were okay.
Does
You want to give it to the audience?
Audience, anybody remotely have a clue?
Oh,
Shut up!
okay.
Now, Jarrell, he's OC Remix staff. He knows that. He's like Bob. Okay, nobody else raise their hand. Jarrell, what is it? What is it?
That's right.
Let's take a Dreamcast. Reach in the swag bag, baby. That's all good. Whatever. That's what it's got. Well, all right. Oh, let me get Tim Fallon is the greatest composer ever.
Seriously. What's your name?
Howdy, I'm Mike Campito.
Mike.
I was a lot more confident before you guys started playing.
These guys, okay? Someone got me.
I
don't know what that
way
says.
more confident waiting in line. Then you heard the song like,
This one shouldn't be too bad. You ready?
all right.
No,
Yeah, I
I
saw you. We're calling on him if you.
Let me fast forward a little bit.
Oh man, I've seen a lot of people slapping their head like, ooh. I know this guy was first. I saw you guys.
Oh, yes.
Alright, it sounds like some manner of Final Fantasy game, but I'm baffled.
That's okay.
Not
Larry,
like
pick
this.
somebody else.
There, yeah, no, you bro. It's an A60.
There we go. Give it to him.
All right. Come on up, man. What was I saying for the crowd?
What was that?
What game was it?
That was Deus Ex, yes.
There you go. Where my? Oh, come on, man. Reach in the swag bag, brother. Reach deep. There's lots of prizes. Some clothy. Xbox. Oh shit. Oh, that's awesome. All right. Hey, way to go, man.
All right. Hi, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Ian.
Ian.
All right. You ready?
Bionic Commando?
Yeah!
There you go, bro. Nice. There you go, brother.
Yo, man, I need to give you a high five too.
So this one, I didn't know this song until like 2 years ago. The first place I heard it was in I Want You. First place I heard it was in I Want You to Die. Everyone else has heard of that.
Yo, man.
Way to go, man.
All right, Ian with a
I am Commando.
Yeah.
Awesome music.
All right, we're very short on time. What's
Hi,
up?
I'm Brendan.
Okay, ready?
All right. Wow. I didn't even see which
We
hand went
mentioned this
first.
composer a lot during this.
With this guy right here?
Okay, well,
Alright, okay. Hold on.
do you want to guess first or? No.
Oh, dude. Okay, alright, hold on. They're saying, hold on, okay. We saw like, I think on this one like 68 hands went up. Alright, hold on. Alright, you in the yonky dong. Which one?
It doesn't matter, we'll give it to him.
Alright, fine, we'll give it to him. Fine, Donkey Kong do two. Alright, that's excellent. Here, you can reach this swag back, Brandon. Come on up, brother. Oh, nice, man.
My turn now.
Who's that?
Oh, that's the BioWare shit.
Oh, that looks nice. Alright, way to go. I only played the first one, so I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Sorry, bro, this is another Amanda Lepre.
Sorry.
Congratulations.
It's obscure, so I reached real far back to the obscure. I don't know.
Alright, go for
It's
it.
gonna be that obscure.
This dude's going fuck wild. I'm like, oh, what?
Hold on, I'm trying to hear it. Oh my god, I have no idea.
That's cool. It's probably another. It's another.
Alright, brother, run up here. Come here, man. You're like the wildest contestant I've ever seen. You might, if you get this wrong, though, I'm just saying, there's a lot of
That is tough enough.
Yep. Come on, man. Get in the swag. Reach in the swag bag. Unbelievable. Tough enough. Did you like play it? Did you rent it?
Hey, I rented that game as a kid because I thought it was cool.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Ready?
All right.
It's got a great soundtrack.
What's your name? I'm sorry.
John.
John Shepard.
Oh, bro.
Oh, this man's coming up.
Who was first?
Of course.
Him right there? Okay, all right. Would you hazard a guess?
I couldn't guess.
No idea? No. Oh my gosh. Okay, all right.
All right, who's got it? Who's got it?
Come on up. I'm having him come on up because, like I said, you get it wrong. What do we got?
Simon Bax Erdrick.
Yeah!
Hey!
Congratulations, man.
Here we go, brother. Run.
Okay, last one then.
All right.
Sorry, last one here. This is for Brett. He's the one.
You play Magic?
Let's go for it.
Way to go, man. Congrats. Kyle. You just stick with me. I don't know what it is. It's accurate.
I like this guy.
This song is really glad you deserve.
Anyone in the crowd?
Anybody in the crowd?
I blame you.
Blame him, yeah.
Anybody new? Nobody.
All right, I'm gonna give this guy another chance.
All right, real quick.
I got you. I got nothing.
The person behind.
Person behind. Okay, you got it. Wait, come on up. Come on up. Oh, you got this.
So I think it's Sonic 2.
Yeah.
The one I picked up really quick was Dragon Slayer.
You're reaching the swag bag, my friend.
All right, so I think, yeah, we have to cap it. We have to cap it there. I really apologize, but some quick call outs here. Oh God, oh God. it would help to, you know.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, real quick, if you want merchandise, come to the back of the room real quick, or right outside. We'll talk to you.
If anybody wants a download of Descendants of Erdrick's Advent, please talk to me.
Yeah, we still have a lot of free stuff.